Thank you very much. I would like to present to you the Water Security for All Science Diplomacy for Sustainable Development of Shared Water Resources in the Arab region and neighboring countries. This is a new initiative that we have been launching here at the UNESCO Regional Bureau for Sciences in the Arab states in close collaboration with the League of Arab States. Let us start by some facts on the ground. Some facts that you all know, and I will not be boring you with that. Basically, we are a water-stressed region. We all know that. 7 out of our water, of the Arab, seven of the top poorest 10 countries in water terms in the world, 7 are in the region. Actually, latest statistics demonstrate that about 18 countries out of the 22 member states of the League of Arab States are below the 1,000 cubic meter, shall I say, threshold. Another major fact that we are all aware of, that water is a regionally shared resource with high interlinkages. Over 2/3 of our waters cross boundaries, and be it within Arab countries or with neighboring countries, and this applies to surface as well as to underground waters. And within this highly complex shortage, high interlinkages, a simple fact says that regional cooperation is inevitable. We simply put have to cooperate. We have no other choice because we are highly interlinked and the water is short. As simple as that. However, and along with that, there has been lots of, shall I say, initiatives in water diplomacy that have been initiated in this part of the world in many cases. And there has been lots of, shall I say, advancement in that we should recognize with varying degrees of success. So the success varied from one another. In cases we brought scientists together, politicians together, etc., and so on. However, a check of the results. These initiatives have been on the ground for the last 50, 60 years, even more. Are we better off after all these years? Is the water situation better off or worse off, or is it the same? I think in many cases, I think most of you will agree with me that the water situation in most of our countries, for various reasons, for various causes, is suffering. In fact, the water situation is deteriorating in many cases. Pressures are escalating, demands for more water are increasing, changes of lifestyle, etc., economic developments, climate change recently is stepping in heavily. So we are facing a real challenge. So from here we've been talking about water security. Water security, in what we see it, refers to the availability of an acceptable quantity and quality of water for health, livelihoods, ecosystems, and production, coupled with an acceptable level of water-related risks to people, environments, and the economies. So this is the definition that we adopted, and we see that water crisis ultimately, particularly in our part of this, and this might apply to other parts of the world as well, it's ultimately a crisis of governance. How we govern, how we I'm not talking only about management, I'm talking about governance, which is a higher level in terms of hierarchy. So effective governance is something that is highly needed. We are talking about effective governance in terms of vulnerability, values, good management principles, and we need a governance that, a responsive governance framework that is needed. That's what we need, a governance framework that responds to the needs and responds to the pressing challenges. Of course, we all know that there are impediments to that, to the adoption of the effective water governance. And these impediments extend from unclear overlapping responsibilities, insufficient institutions, insufficient funding, centralized decision-making, limited public engagement, and etc. And these can apply within the countries and among countries as well. Water governance, needless to say, has implications on social dimensions, economic dimensions, environmental dimensions, and indeed, we do have the political dimensions as well. Now, within the framework, and then now we are in the SDGs era. Within the overall framework of achieving the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, for all peoples of the Arab region and neighboring countries, we aim, our ultimate aim in the initiative that I will be sharing with you right now in a couple of minutes, the ultimate aim is to meaningfully contribute to the establishment of a regional water status that's based on equitable, efficient, and sustainable utilization of water resources. That's what we are aiming for. And this, of course, goes in line along with the established SDGs. If we look at this map between SDG 6, 11, 12, 2, etc., we have straightforward targets that are linked to the IWRM, Transboundary Cooperation, and in many cases, when we are addressing the water issue, we are addressing the SDGs, particularly in this part of the world, where water is one of the most, shall I say, scarce resources, despite being a major input in all socioeconomic, shall I say, actions in the region. So, going back to what we started. We started by saying that there has been lots of initiatives, however, that with, well, varying degrees of success, and however, the water status is still pressing. Actually, it is escalating or deteriorating in many terms. There is still, there are escalating needs, there are still escalating challenges that we have to meet. So we tried to, we said, okay, what can we do? How can we present something? In many cases, and there is a kind of a criticism that's done in many cases, that most of the water initiatives were water-based. And the colleague that started before me, he gave a presentation in the Netherlands, that not necessarily always to have water solutions for the water issue. There could be other issues. Maybe we should be innovative a little bit more. Maybe our starting points were not the proper ones. And by the way, there's no proper wrong or right. Which starting point can really lead us to establish a better status in water in the region? So we try to flip the coin. We always start by water, and then in many cases we forget that water ultimately is an input in all socio-economic activities. It's a prerequisite. You cannot do without it. So along with that, with achievement of the globally SDGs providing our overall umbrella for this initiative, the suggested approach, the new approach, is anchored to 4 major pillars. The first and most important one, well, all of them are important, but the first and big one is adopting mutual socio-economic, environmental, and cultural benefits as a major entry point for science and water diplomacy in the region. We start by the mutual benefits. We start why we need ultimate water. We need it for the livelihoods, for the socio-economic advancement, for addressing our challenges. So the mutual benefit is the entry point that we are strongly advocating for. Another major element is the promotion of effective water governance. We said that water governance, in our opinion, or water issues or water problem is a governance issue. So we have promotion of effective water governance to guide and control suggested interventions. And then we have science and technology. Definitely science and technology. We need to deploy and utilize the powers, the knowledge, and the technologies and deploy them on the ground to address our various needs, from water desalination, from the water energy nexus, etc., and so on, and all these technologies and science that is available, as well as in the social sciences. So to have enlightened, shall I say, science-based interventions. And last but not least is the trust building. You cannot really establish this regional cooperation if there is no trust. I cannot cooperate with a person before me unless we have established this trust. And in many cases we know that trust comes, or actually mistrust, in many cases comes from ignorance. If I don't know my neighbor well, I might mistrust him. So along with that, the 4 programs that we are suggesting are the following. The first program is achieving the SDGs for all, the mutual benefits program. The first one in up. So this program basically is addresses 2, shall I say, first of all, involves 2 major activities: the promotion of the concepts of mutual programs and projects. We need to promote this concept because it all starts from convictions. So another one, establishment of a project identification unit. So this unit can identify the projects and joint activities. The second one is the effective deployment of knowledge, and sciences and technology, which will be, and we are suggesting to have a fund to support mutual research and also to deploy the technologies on the ground through pilot programs within the region and neighboring countries. The third one is the matching capabilities. We need to raise the capabilities of all partners, because if we really want to establish a meaningful dialogue, it should be among equals, at least in technical terms. So we need to match the capabilities or enhance the capabilities, the institutional, the scientific capabilities, and for the negotiators in all these terms. And this is, and there are a series of activities suggested. Last but not least is the program that we call Know Your Neighbor. Know Your Neighbor, it's the building the trust. It's about, and here we have lots of, and we can start from the cultural exchanges. There could be cultural entry points, open access to information and data, and to exchange. We can exchange, shall I say, visits from academicians and practitioners and to a highest level. The idea is to defrost, or to, shall I say, break the barriers of misknowledge, the lack of knowledge. Because as I said in the beginning, in many cases we act because of our ignorance of the other rather than knowing him. And the idea is UNESCO can be the broker, because ultimately the achievement of all this cooperation is the responsibilities of the governments and the peoples of the region and the neighboring country. And we, as an international member state agency in close cooperation with the League of Arab States, are presenting ourselves as brokers for such an initiative. So this is, shall I say, in a nutshell, what is this initiative about? And we are, as I said, this is an initiative that we are launching, we are promoting right now in close collaboration with the League of Arab States. It was submitted in its broad lines to the Arab Water Ministerial Council in Kuwait a few months ago, and we are advancing with that with the hope to establish a better water status in the region for that will serve the peoples of the region and for their advancement and prosperity. Thank you.